welcome in. Hey, go ahead and have a seat. Awesome. Hey, you made great time today. Did you have any traffic? No traffic? Okay, great. Well, hey, welcome. My name is Ryan. This is RLS Enterprises. I just, wanted to thank you for making it to your interview today. I'm really excited to speak to you. You have the exact qualifications that I think would be great for this position. But, not just want to go ahead and start things off really quick, get right to the punch. Why'd you want the position? Okay, tough in the labor market. You saw my ad. Okay. So you just wanted something to do. Okay. I got you, yeah. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and tell you a little bit about this position and then I'll ask you a few more questions. But then after, if you have any questions, then you can definitely let me know by the end or, just any point during the interview if you want to go ahead and let me know if you have any questions. But so this position, RLS Enterprises, as you saw in the ad, we're into many different, in many different things. I have a merch going, not this. This is just your standard t-shirt that I got at Walmart. But I do have a merch store going. Are you familiar with drop shipping? Okay, it's kind of like that. Then the other half of our business is pretty much all social media marketing. So, you're gonna have to make sure that there's posts. If the posts do really well, then this job it is $5 hourly. I know he said on the ad it was $15 or $20 an hour. I'm estimating that based off commission, but you're really getting paid about $5 an hour, and then you're gonna get paid per commission because we do have social media as a part of what we do as a business. So you get paid a small royalty of that, which will end up being about, depending on how well the posts do, will end up being about $15 to $20 an hour. Yeah, so basically we're into multiple different things, many different businesses, avenues on the internet, and so that's pretty much how you get paid and everything. But what makes you think that you are qualified for this position? Okay, you did okay. You did some, social media marketing. Okay. You know what drop shipping is? Oh, okay, that's definitely great. And you have the time? Okay, that's great. So you got a lot of dedication. A little bit about work hours. This is a job where, unfortunately, since we're just up and coming, there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done. You're going to have to basically come in every day, or always be available. I can reach you remotely through, and we'll get on. People usually use like Microsoft Teams, and back in the day, people use Skype, but I like to do everything through Discord, just because spend a lot of time on there, and then you wanna. If we need to get into a work call, I can just hop in there. So I have my own Discord server set up for our meetings. And so it's pretty much a remote position, but I wanted to meet, face to face with you because you can know a lot more about a person if you get to know them face to face. And so that's really what I wanted to do. But I can see, dressed well. I wouldn't have worn the Nike shorts or the Nike, shoes, excuse me, along with the khaki shorts. But, I'm not here to judge too much. I am wearing I don't even know what brand this is, Walmart polo. This is the only polo that I really have, or fancy dress. Most of the time I'm wearing t-shirts. Some of them have holes in it, some of them don't. I don't really know. It's kind of a, random pick of the day type of thing. And then don't get me to wear jeans anywhere. It's, I live in the South, or as you know, we live in the South. It's too hot down here to wear jeans. I'm just in shorts all the time. In fact, you can't see because of the desk, but I'm actually wearing shorts right now. But anyways, TMI, by the way. I'm sorry, you didn't need to know all that. But anyway, so yeah, your long working hours. You're probably going to be working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week at the start, so I can get used to. It's what I like to call kind of like a stress test, to get you used to the position, and then after that, to get you used to the position. But then, after that, you'll have a few more days off, and you maybe have like one extra day off. And by one extra, I mean you'll work 6 days a week, and, nowadays, so many I see online, people don't want to work nowadays. And I had to, I would reach out to people on Instagram, and you saw my ad on, I believe, was it LinkedIn? Was it Instagram where you saw my ad? Oh, you DM'd me directly, or rather, I DM'd you. Okay, gotcha. I always have to keep note of that because I DM some for the job application. Sometimes I text, people. I get random. I just find random phone numbers on the internet and send a whole paragraph because I'm really trying to find work. But no one hits me back. I guess they think I'm some sort of scam or something. I don't know why they think that, but yeah, I see people, they complain about wanting to work a job and they only get paid, $12 an hour. Well, when my dad started working, he got paid, $4.25, and he was happy, and that was a lot back then. So, what am I typing down? I'm just taking some slight notations. But yeah, go ahead and tell me about yourself. Sorry, I've been yapping for a bit. Okay, so you're hardworking, you're detail oriented, you're organized. That's great. Okay, and yeah, okay. Would you happen to actually, in your spare time, because like I said, I hang out with a lot of gamers on Discord and stuff, which doesn't really have anything to do with my business right now, but I'm curious, do you happen to play a game called League of Legends? No? Okay, good. Because just little secret, I don't let the, League of Legends people work for me. You play League of Legends, it's quite of a toxic game. Those individuals are usually quite toxic. So, some people have, zodiac signs. Some people have, what creed, religion. Everyone has these stereotypes that they judge people by. Mine is what game you play, because I'm a gamer. And, if you play League of Legends, you're just not that type of person I want working for me, to be completely honest. Okay, so glad you don't do that. Okay, and what would you say? So those were some strengths, organizational skills, hardworking, and detail-oriented. But what would you say is some of your weaknesses? Okay, you don't really have a good work-life balance. Okay, spend too much time online. I get that, yeah. And okay. You tend to just put too much time into your work. Okay, well that's kind of the same as work-life balance. I get what you're saying. Now that's even your weaknesses I kind of see as strengths, because like I said earlier, the younger generation nowadays, they don't really like to work. They don't really like to put in that much effort. They always kind of cite the 1970s or the 1960s as these economic booms, and they say that the life is different now. Oh, my dad, he bought his house for $10 and a fucking pack of gum. But then they don't want to work like an easy job like McDonald's, or even the job that I'm providing. It's pretty easy. It's a pretty easy job. It's not necessarily too. It's some complex work. You have to understand algorithms. You have to understand social media. You have to understand how to put advertising together. And we do our own ads. We don't outsource that. So that's a part of the job, is that you're gonna have to learn how to use video editing software, which I'm very familiar with. It's Adobe Premiere Pro, and some CapCut. We can use some AI tools. Now I don't know how you feel about AI, but AI is just a wonderful tool that we can pretty much create almost anything we want from AI. You can use Chat GPT. I use Chat GPT to type up a lot of the text messages I make nowadays, because I just don't have the brain power anymore. I just figure, hey, if this AI machine can type me up 10 paragraphs of what I need to say to something or something, back when I was working a job, which I've worked one job, by the way, and if I ever needed to type up an email, then I could just type it in a Chat GPT and get it going. But, I was working at a call center before this, and sometimes we would have to send, emails and stuff like that, because, we had to let the higher ups know if customers had any complaints and things like that. And so that's how I would use the Chat GPT and just type it all the way up, or hey, Chat GPT, how do I need an email that sounds professional, copy paste, put it in there, and I didn't have time for that. But working that job made me realize how how I really wanted my own business, and I really wanted to do my own business. Also, just to let you, another, more aspects of the job is that what I'm going to require is that we have, because what bothers me about all these different, big companies and corporations nowadays, there's always an automated system that you have to go through. And I just want to talk to a person. I just really want to talk to a person. And so what I'm going to do is it's not going to be your personal phone number, but you will have it's set up. You have to get a Google phone number, and then we use that as the call center number. So if we have any questions from customers, they can call us directly. So you're going to have to be able to, as you're doing your current work, if any customers have any complaints, you can answer them and do the work, and then, you notate the call, and you have to put that like in our Discord server, because I don't have a real website or anything set up yet. So everything's going to have to be documented in there, so that way you type it up and stuff like that. But does that sound good to you? Okay. You don't really have anything else to do? Okay. I understand, yeah. Gotcha. Okay, and there's some more questions. So how do you handle stress? You take a break? Okay. And come back to it later. What if there's a whole bunch of stress? Let's say there's a customer, and let's say by, this has never happened once in my day in my life, but let's say when we were using the, drop shipping. And if you're unfamiliar, I mean, you said you're familiar with drop shipping works, but I'll just go ahead and explain it just for clarity. Normally what we would do is we'd go and get like a basic, let's say it's like a mug from AliExpress, and then we're going to take that, and then we would put it on our website, and then we would have our own brand set up for it. Like it'll be RLS Enterprises mugs. I won't actually say that, but let's say that for this, fair sake of example. And we would then, that gets, shipped directly to the customer, because, then people will buy it off our site, and then it goes to the customer. So let's say it was messed up, the manufacturer, our printing service, whatever we have to use, that, it doesn't say RLS Enterprises. Let's say it says, Dick Enterprises or something crazy. How would you, and then the customer gets really, they wanted to give that to their, let's say, give it as a gift, but maybe they didn't want a gag gift. They wanted it as a regular gift, and now they're pissed off about it. So they're calling you, how would you handle that situation? Great. I'm impressed by that answer. Most people would say, oh, I tell them to go and buzz off, or, but you said you would go ahead and get them to our, customer, put in for a refund, and we'll refund them the full amount, and, send them out a new mug. That's great customer service. I appreciate that. Although the one addendum that I will make to your statement, we can't send them a new mug. I can do refunds, but we can't send them a new mug, because that would eat too much into the profits. And this company will let you know, even though I am running it out of my bedroom, as you can see, and we will have to, do our meetings and everything in Discord. It's a profitable business, and we have made sales, mostly to family and friends, but it is profitable. You make $1 profit. That's still profit, and it is still a profitable business. I will say that. Okay. So thank you. That was a great that was a great answer. But yeah, I want to get to know a little bit. You said, you told me about yourself, hobbies, or not really. You told me about, your hardworking, detail-oriented, things like that. But like, what are some hobbies that you do? Okay, you do game. Okay. What games do you play? Skyrim, mostly RPGs. Okay, I'm not too much into the RPGs. Do you do any Overwatch? Okay, Overwatch, that's cool. Do you do any Marvel Rivals? No, mostly Overwatch. Are you into any single player games? BioShock, Marvel, Spider-Man. That's what I'm playing, Spider-Man games. Okay, you're into Borderlands? Oh, okay. That's what's up. I think, yeah, so let me go ahead. Let me get some coffee. Okay. So, you live alone with your parents? With your parents? Okay. They're actually the one pushing you to get a job? Oh, okay. Well, that's nothing wrong with that. You seem, you're a young, spry individual. There's no reason why you shouldn't be working. And as this is a first job, I think you'll do great here. And you just put in a lot of, things on your resume that really made you feel like you were perfect for this job. Well, I did just say this is like your first job, but you said previously you worked like at like what, like a McDonald's or something? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Great. Gotcha. Awesome. Okay. So let me see if there's any more questions that I have for you. Um, what motivates you? I'll just, and I do have my questions over here, but I'm just, on my trusty iPad. Why am I tapping on it? For good luck. Anyways, but yeah, I do have my interview questions on an iPad because I am a very professional interviewer, even though this is my first interview I'm ever doing. You didn't have to know that, but I think, I've gotten to know you in the last, 15 or 16 minutes that you've been here. And so I think, like, we're getting a lot closer. And, I think it'd be great, just to have some vulnerability. Maybe we won't do any trust exercises or anything like that. Don't worry. We don't have to do that until we actually start working together. So, but yeah, no, so I just do have this, my questions over here on this iPad that I didn't mention earlier for some reason, but don't worry too much about that. Anyway, so what does motivate you? Money? Okay. Me too, honestly. But any altruistic reason why you would really want to, like, work? I want to make sure that my employees, they have really good, strong moral values. Because people nowadays, they, like I said, they struggle with morals. They don't really want to work. The young kids, they just, all they care about is like dumb things, like politics and things like that. I won't get into it, but like, maybe they just care about such dumb things. And I just wanted to make sure, I want to make sure we're on the same level. So, what motivates you deeply? You just want to be able to spend time with your family and fish. Okay. So you're really into fishing too. Okay. Ice fishing, like catfishing. What are you into? Oh, okay. Just regular fishing by the river. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. Well, those are some great motivations. Having strong, interpersonal values, being with the people that you love. I think that's beautiful. Great. I'd love to have that in an employee. One of the most important questions, and this is something that I've just wanted to get to know you more before I actually asked you, but like, when do you think you'd be able to start? Immediately? I wouldn't want to have you work today, but maybe on Monday. Monday can be your first day. And so that way we can have, a really good, you can have a few days to get prepared, and I can have you enter you into, like I said, the Discord server, and we can have our very first meeting of things and kind of get you, integrated into the system, and, give you all my sign-ins and stuff like that, so you can get in there and start making your posts. And then I'll be tracking your activity through some software, so then that way I know that you're not just goofing off and say you're working, because it's not anything like that you have to really worry about, but it's just you have to come in, sign in, which you can get in either by shooting me a message on Discord, or you'll basically go into a software that I have set up, where you'll just go in and put in your hours, and I'll be able to track all of that, so you can't lie to me. But yeah, no worries there. You seem like a very trustworthy person. I'm sure you have no reason to do that. But I'm just going to notate some other things here and there, because you'll be able to work Monday, which means I have to have a few extra things set up, so that way they'll be ready for when you actually start working. Okay. I'm just going to see if there's anything else that I need to know as far as, let's see. Okay, so where do you see yourself? Like, let's say in 5 years. I mean, I really want this is like this is a newer company. It is just kind of getting just started, just off the ground. So I'm curious, where do you see yourself? Do you want to work with this company for the next, say, like 4 or 5 years of your life? And then, that way you can have a robust interview, or a robust, excuse me, resume. So for your next interview, like if you want to move up and move on, or like what do you want to do? Okay. You want to be an influencer. Oh, okay. So you feel like this would be the best, you know, this would be the next stepping stone of that. So you would learn a lot about social media marketing. That's smart. I like the way you think. Okay. So in 5 years, you want to be an influencer. Now, would you want to be an influencer that works with the RLS Enterprises? Because that would be something really cool, right? Okay. Awesome. Okay. Well, I just was thinking more and more. Oh, also, there's another thing that I didn't like tell you at first because I didn't put it on the ad, but just to let you know, there is a sign-on bonus. If you sign on, and you've basically, I have to interview a couple more candidates, but I think you're the most, promising candidate. I have a whole $20 cash sign-on bonus. This is upside down. A cash sign-on bonus that if you join us today. So hey, or if you get hired, if I decide to hire you, I'll give you a call back today after the other candidates arrive. I have, I think, 2 more people coming in, and I just really want to get this business started as soon as I can. So I'll definitely let you know. And if I hire on more people, they'll get sign-on bonuses too. But that is a hefty, that's a good amount of money. That is $20 whole. You can get maybe one whole meal with that at McDonald's nowadays. But anyways, so let's see if there's anything else on here on this trusty old iPad that I can ask you. Let's see. In all honesty, I really just Googled it. I didn't like think about the questions I really want to ask. Like I said, I've never done this before, so I really just Googled these. And but you've been handling yourself really well, and I think that is pretty much all I want to get from you today. I don't think there's anything else that I could really ask you. I think you've put in a lot of good answers. You presented yourself well. I did judge you at first with like I said, the khaki shorts and the Nike shoes. You're wearing a polo, it's good. It's a red polo, so red kind of clashes with the khakis, but I'm not going to analyze your whole fit. I'm not worried about that. But anyways, thank you so much for coming in today. I'm hoping that, you really take away from this interview, which you will. I really enjoyed talking with you, but I'll get back to you before the end of the day. And I'll let you know if you can go ahead and get that job and work on Monday. But is there anything that you have to ask me? Oh, how often do you get paid? That is to be determined because I haven't actually understood payroll yet. Normally, it depends on how the social media companies decide to pay us. I know that for some of them, it might be monthly, so you might have to get paid, once a month. You might have to get paid once every other week. It really depends on commissions and things like that, because and we also have the drop shipping business, so a lot of things over there. I've done a little bit of the work there, but I don't quite understand how it works just yet. So in terms of getting paid, you'll just have to, that's a to be determined basis, but you'll get paid perfectly well. Don't worry. I have a lot of faith in this company, and if you really come in and put in your work, that like I said, the 6 days a week, or even the 7 days a week at first, and then the 6 days a week after things have gotten settled here and there, I'm sure everything will be great. But like I said, thanks for coming in today. You can go ahead and head on out, but I'll call you by the end of the day and let you know my decision. Thanks. Okay, goodbye.